Welcome back. All right, so I wore the Santa Claus jersey in the last video I did on the hockey channel. Figured I should at least change my hat when I'm changing over to the other channel. So here we are. So I'll start with what's at the bottom of the board here. And I've seen people, whiteboards. Yeah, I've used whiteboards on the hockey channel for the last 6 years. I always find it entertaining when people come in who don't know my shtick, they don't know my channel, they don't know what I do, and they just, this guy, what does he know? Okay, well, anyways, so one thing is that the last video and the videos that I've done talking about the Canada Post situation, they've performed well, and there's that balancing act between performing well and all that. But I'm done. I'm done. I don't like how political everything gets. The one thing that's driven me crazy over the last decade is watching is now absolutely everything's political all the time. Everything all the time. It doesn't matter. I could look outside and go, it's a nice sunshiny day out. Oh, you like the sun, do you? You prick. Like it's just we've got to that point where no matter what the topic is, somebody's going to be angry, somebody's going to be upset. That being said, I want to talk about what I've been watching lately. And upset, I watched A California Christmas. I got like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and then I just stopped. And I stopped because there are Christmas movies that do this, and I hate it. Where they're not Christmas movies. They have Christmas in the dialogue. So at the start, it's, well, this has to be done by Christmas Eve. Okay. But there's nothing inherently Christmas about the movie. It's just this overwrought ridiculousness. And it's getting too much. Like the main characters, out there to try to talk this woman into selling her farm. It's a very contrite, standard romance movie kind of thing. Like the big rich man's going to come in and save the woman who's running her farm. But in the meantime, her mother's dying of cancer. The guy's lying to her the whole way, and I'm like, okay, it was depressing. I was almost an hour in, and I said to Yvonne, I said, this is depressing. Christmas movies shouldn't be depressing. And so I turned it off. And yet, I looked at the reviews, and I saw people saying it's a feel-good movie, and it's a light-hearted movie, and I'm like, what? There's a scene where she thinks her mom's dead, and she has to and like her mom stopped taking chemo, and her mother's slowly fading, and they get into these whole conversations on it. I'm like, la 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 la. What in the world of what? This is not Christmas. Nothing in the movie was Christmas. Nothing. And so I gave up. And those are the Christmas movies that honestly irritate me, where clearly somebody wrote a script for a movie that they're like, I don't know if this is strong enough. We could sell this to Hallmark, but if we tack Christmas onto it, somebody will pick it up, and that's what it looks like to me. They're not Christmas movies. Now, in the other, going the other way is Single All the Way, about a gay man coming home, and he has a boyfriend that turns out that is married, so he can't bring the boyfriend home. So he wants to play it off like him and his best friend have decided to become romantic. And it was looking like it was going to be one of those standard, well, now the family can't find out, and then they'll fall in love with each other while they're pretending to be together. Immediately, the movie takes that storyline, crumples it up, and throws it away and goes, nope, we're not going to have him lying to his family. We're not going to have this like Three's Company from the early 80s. What a good movie. Single All the Way was actually a really good movie. I like for a Christmas movie, it was very good, but as a movie, it was a good show. It was honestly an entertaining show. I liked the characters. I liked how it was written. I was really surprised. I even paused at one point during the movie to turn to my wife and say, "Hey, all the people in this movie are talking like normal people talk, and they're having normal conversations. What a refreshing change from a lot of the Christmas movies we've been watching." Because a lot of the Christmas movies, the dialogue is weird and it's overacted. It's very soap opera-ish. So yeah, Single All the Way is a good movie. And it is Christmas. They talk about Christmas all the way through it. There's Christmas elements all the way through it. I honestly I would recommend it. It's what a good movie. That was a breath of fresh air amongst some not great Christmas movies we've been watching. And there's a couple others that I started and I went, and didn't even get 5 minutes in. I'm like, okay, I know what this is. I don't want to watch that kind of Christmas movie right now. So we have a week left till Christmas. I'm certainly going to probably watch others as well. And so, yeah, there you go. I wanted to talk about WWE. So, Saturday night's main event. I didn't end up seeing it. I did record it, but then all the spoilers were all over YouTube. So, as soon as I loaded up my YouTube page, I'm like, okay, so that's all spoiled. Awesome. Great. Thanks. I'm so glad I subscribed to these channels that ruin everything. So that's why on the hockey channel I don't do spoilers. Unless like if there's a game that's at 10 a.m. in the morning and I'm posting the video reviewing all of the games during the day and it's been almost 12 hours since that game finished, I'm like, I could probably use the thumbnail from that game that spoils who won. I don't think people are going to be too upset, but I try not to post with thumbnails that spoil things. And then I have to watch, too, that there isn't a player in the thumbnail that got traded 6 years ago, and it's not a picture from, like, 2014 or something like that. But Saturday night's main event, Chelsea Green is legitimately becoming the heartwarming story in WWE. And she took the belt right to Disneyland. Yes, that's what you do. That is rightfully what you do. She's from the West Coast. Generally, people on the West Coast tend to prefer Disneyland over Disney World, and vice versa. People on the East Coast often prefer Disney World to Disneyland. I think it's what you grow up with or what you go to first, kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm so happy for Chelsea. I love the way they're writing this. I think the whole New Day stuff they're doing is great. Right now, WWE is writing, I would say almost every angle's working. I say almost because there's ones that aren't going to work when you have that many different plot lines going on across three different shows. The one thing that I'm wondering about, and I actually mentioned this to Yvonne last night, even though she doesn't watch wrestling, is I do get concerned that right now the women's division in NXT is completely stacked. And at some point in time, these women are going to get called up to Raw and SmackDown. Well, that's going to mean other women are going to end up being off TV and then probably released. So that's where wrestling for me is tough because I see all these people coming up and I'm like, yep, they all belong in the main roster, which means you're going to have to cut people from the main roster. And with some of these ladies and how talented they are, I think they're going to force their way up the card pretty quickly, and they're going to end up on Raw or SmackDown pretty quickly as well. So WWE's doing pretty well. I also watched a video on this platform, YouTube, on the downfall of AEW. Sportskeeda put it out. It was pretty well done. It was honestly pretty well done. And it did remind me, oh, right, that's why I used to watch AEW. I loved AEW back then, and it's just devolved. It's just, the storylines are not working. And I think part of it, too, is that when they started out, they were really focusing on making new stars and saying these are the people that we're building around. And then as soon as WWE was releasing wrestlers, they would bring those wrestlers in and they would force out the guys who had been there from the start. And I think you're playing with fire there because you're changing your content and you're basically making it a WWE light rather than an alternative to WWE. And I think that's part of AEW's downfall. I know they still do all like the hardcore matches and all the blood stuff, but people aren't generally that interested in that. I know there's wrestling fans that are, but you're not going to get widespread attention of the positive variety, and you're not going to see your attendance figures go up because people want to see some guy get his face cut up. Like, it's just, I would not go to an event thinking, well, I want to go to this one because there's this hardcore match where these guys are going to do all this crazy. It kind of feels like that's a little bit played out in terms of it being a main event draw and something that's widespread. So you guys can let me know your thoughts. But I think AEW's really, really messed things up at this point. We're also watching The Ultimatum. This season of The Ultimatum is so uncomfortable to watch. And it is a show that I think needs to go away. So The Ultimatum, for people who don't know, is it's like a dating show, but so much worse, where one person wants to get married and the other person doesn't, and that can be a valid problem. I've personally experienced that myself, where I wanted to get married, the person that I was with did not, and rather than understand that means there's something wrong in the relationship that needs to be fixed, I just stayed with it. And in this case, people, rather than trying to fix whatever's the issue there, or realize it's just not going to work, they go on TV. They decide they're going to go on to Netflix. And so one person drags the other. You have the person giving you the ultimatum, the person who's received the ultimatum, and it's just uncomfortable because then all these couples all talk. They have these little date sessions, and then you couple up with one of the other people who either gave an ultimatum or got the ultimatum, and then you spend, I think it's 3 weeks living together, and then you go back to your significant other for another 3 weeks. Well, two couples left, which honestly, I get it. I do. I get it. Right away, they're living with other people, and they realized I don't like this, and so they left. They genuinely felt that this wasn't going to work for them, and the show portrays it that they're running off and they're not dealing with things. That's kind of how they make it come across, and that you're doing something wrong. The episode we watched last night, one of the people who paired up with somebody who ran off. So now he's by himself. He's not doing well because he knows that his significant other is with another man who is a good-looking man who's got it together, well-spoken, intelligent. I totally understand thinking, okay, so my almost fiance is living with this person for 3 weeks, and I'm all by myself just sitting here twiddling my thumbs playing cards. And it's not a pretty picture. And basically the show has you watch him have a nervous breakdown, which is very uncomfortable. I'm not a fan. I really don't understand why show someone go through this mental break. I don't think that helps. And so I do want to see how these couples turn out, but this is the last season of the show I'm going to watch. I won't watch another season of it because it's icky. It is, and I mean, if you've known that kind of pain, and I have, you don't want to watch somebody else go through that, even if you don't necessarily think the person's the greatest or whatever. You don't want to watch somebody go through that. It's terrible. It's a horrible feeling, and yeah, it's messy. And so the next episode I know is where they get back together with their significant others, and then the fighting all happens there. But the frustrating part for Yvonne and I watching previous seasons too have been, we see these couples and we go, okay, there's real issues here they need to work on. They need professional help. And rather than the show acknowledging that that's what would be best for these people, they just, oh, this is great for our experiment. It's so at any rate, yeah, the ultimatum, I would not recommend this season. Previous seasons are not as bad as this season. This season, it feels like it's a lot, and it makes it for a tough watch. But I'll get through it because we take a couple of days in between each episode, so we watch something else. I load them Netflix, and I'm like, we don't need to watch that right now. We'll get back to that later. But I don't understand why Nick and Vanessa Lachey host everything either. I'm not a huge fan of them as hosts. And the reason being that there's various dating shows that they're on, and as hosts they just dig at people. They'll be like, "So everything's going well? Yeah, everything's going well. We're getting along really well. Hey, remember that fight you guys had? Let's load it up. Remember this? See all this fighting that's going on here? Remember where you called her this and she called you that? What is that all about? That's weird. Oh, hey, and this person's here. Didn't you have a thing for them? Because we got footage. Let's roll it. Where you're talking about how hot they are. Like, it's just it is awkward when you have a host or hosts in this case who are actively trying to encourage fighting, and then when the fighting breaks out, react like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. No, you guys made it happen. You know exactly what you're doing. So, yeah, because they host Love Is Blind, they host Ultimatum. I know there's another one I'm forgetting. There are various shows that they host. There are other people who can host shows. There absolutely are. Love Island fixed itself by changing its host. So, anyways, there you go. I hope everybody's having a good holiday season, and I mean that. And I'm saying it because it can be a challenge. I did reveal on the hockey channel the other night that my mother fell. She broke her hip. To my knowledge, she still has not had the surgery she needs to have for that. They have some concerns, so they're doing some tests and they're going through everything because at this point in time, you want to make sure if you're going to operate on a person that they're able to withstand the stress of that. So it is a challenging season for me. I know it's a challenging season for others. There are other challenges too that I've been going through over the last few weeks. So I hope that everybody has a good holiday season. On the main channel, on the Hockey Guy, we do have a live stream we do every Christmas Day because we understand that this is not necessarily the happy-go-lucky time that is shown on TVs, commercials, and TV shows where everything's wonderful. There's always that Christmas miracle. In reality, there isn't always the Christmas miracle. But and I will say this: when you're watching Christmas movies, at the start, guess what the Christmas miracle is going to be, and see if you're right or not. Very often, it's just they decide they're going to move to the small town. So, at any rate, I hope you're having a good holiday season. It's definitely been a challenge on my end, but there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's been greatly appreciated throughout 2024. This channel's growth has been notable, and I've been very proud of it. I'm very happy about it. And so I hope to see that continue. But thank you guys so much for all your support. And I will probably talk about things from a Canadian perspective here and there, but I'm going to try to keep it as lighthearted as I can. I've talked about something from this country. I'll talk about something lighthearted. I'll just keep it at that level. But thank you guys for all your support. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, all the support's been appreciated. I just wanted to make sure you guys know that. And if you're wondering where I get this kind of jersey from, it's from Geeky Jerseys. So just geekyjerseys.com. And the jerseys are pretty good quality, and they're nice. And there's various different topics that I can cover, or I can say, hey, a geeky jersey works for this. So I have that happen often. But again, thank you for watching. I will talk to you again soon.